Welcome everyone. Today I'm reviewing the Presonus Monitor Station V2. So after my last monitor controller fell apart, check out that video here, I began a quest to find a newer, better monitor controller. One that could fulfill all my I/O needs without compromising on audio quality. And that brought me first to the Presonus Monitor Station V2. More candidates coming soon, so make sure you stick around. There are a ton of features on this thing. Let's go ahead and take a look at the back first. That way we have a little bit more context when we start looking at all the buttons and knobs on the front. So starting off, you can see this is a powered controller. It's not like the passive one that I talked about earlier. It does have an on-off switch and of course a power jack. And next to that, you have your main output. That's going to be like basically a throughput for your main source. And then you have a Q output next to that. We're going to discuss that in a second. And then you have your 3 speaker outputs. Those are all on stereo TRS jacks. Next to that, you have trim controls for your 3 speaker outputs. And then you have your auxiliary in. You can bring your aux in through RCA, SPDIF, or 1/8 inch. And then next to that, you have your stereo 1 and 2 sources. Let's go ahead and flip it over to the front. Now the monitor station has a dedicated Q and main section. So starting at the top left, you have your Q source selector. You can bring it in from your stereo 1, 2, or your aux, or all 3 at the same time. Then to the right of that, you have your 4 headphone jacks with their volume knobs and source selectors. So push this button in or out and you can pull from the source of the Q section or the source of the main section. And then to the far right, you have the Q output that controls how much goes out of those Q jacks we looked at on the back earlier. And that's if you have an extra device, an extra headphone amp or headphone distribution system, you can actually go out of this into that for even more than 4 headphones. All right, below that in the main section, you have your auxiliary level and your auxiliary source button. Next to that, you have your main source selector. And just like with your Q source, you can bring in from your stereo 1, 2, or aux, or all 3 at the same time. Next to that, you have your meter, and then you have your speaker selectors, A, B, and C. Okay, bottom row now, almost done. You got the mono sum button. You have the not so big volume knob, obviously turns your volume up and down. Below that, mute. And then you have your dim with a dim knob right above it, which controls how much you reduce the volume by when you hit the dim or the talkback. Then finally, you have the talkback button with a talkback volume there that controls the microphone right above it and how loud that goes into the Q mix. Man, that was quite a bit to go over there. There's a lot of features packed into this smallish form factor. And I have to say that historically speaking, I've had a mixed relationship with Presonus products. However, I can say that the monitor station so far has been working quite well. It's really convenient to have a dedicated headphone Q section and a main section. This means that if you have an interface like I do, Cranbourne Audio 500 R8, that has a dedicated Q mix output, you can plug that into the stereo 2 input on the monitor station and then bring that up on 4 dedicated headphone outputs. Right, so now you have 4 headphone outs without ever having to get an additional headphone distribution system. Really convenient. By default, the monitor station comes in combo mode, which means if you select source 1 and then you select source 2, it doesn't deselect source 1, you have them both selected. So you can listen to both of them at the same time. And same on the speakers. If you select speakers A and then you select speakers B, it doesn't deselect speakers A. So then you just have your source coming out of multiple sets of speakers. And then you have to actually manually turn off speaker A or source 1 if you want them off. And that workflow may work for you, but it wasn't ideal for me. So after reading the manual, I discovered that it has several operation modes. It has the aforementioned combo mode, then it has toggle mode, which makes it behave more like you're used to. You select A and then select B, and it automatically unselects A. It also has an A-B sub mode, so you can have speakers A and speakers B, And then in speaker C, you can have that plugged into a sub, which then you can switch on and off independently of A and B, which I found to be super useful. Another thing that I actually really liked is the dedicated trim controls on the back of the monitor station. My Yamaha HS8s and my Kali LP6s are not the same volume, and so it's nice being able to just turn those knobs to dial them in, get them close so you could go back and forth between them without a big noticeable bump in volume. I'm also happy to report that I put the monitor station in line between my interface and my speakers, and I heard absolutely no loss in clarity, which is important because there was a loss in clarity with the previous monitor controller I was using. Now, the only thing I really missed as far as features go, it was being able to plug in an external talkback mic, or like I discussed with the talkback section in the 500 R8, not being able to plug in an external button or foot pedal to turn on the talkback. It's always convenient to be able to turn on the talkback without removing your hand from the mouse and the keyboard. And now the monitor station comes with so many features. They had to save money somewhere, and I feel like they did that with the buttons and the knobs. Sometimes the buttons can feel a little bit cheap. I was actually quite surprised at how well the Presonus Monitor Station worked. If you're looking to upgrade both your monitor and cue systems, you can kill those two birds with this one single monitor controller shaped stone. Now, it was not a perfect entry into my quest for a monitor controller. However, at the reasonable price of $350, it was a pretty competent one. With as feature-rich as it is, if it's in your budget, it may work for you. Thanks as always for watching. I appreciate your time. If you're looking for a monitor controller like I am, I got more coming for you, so make sure you stick around. And if you have anything you want me to take a look at, leave a comment down below, and I'll get back to you soon. See you next time.